Hey guys, and welcome back to episode 80 of the Sim Racing Show, because we're covering a huge week of sim racing. Project Motor Racing is basically here, but there's some missing and limited features you need to be aware of. A huge racing game has been officially cancelled. Assetto Corsa Evo is lining up a big update as well that could flip the entire early access story, but there's more delays. And Assetto Corsa Rally, well, the community has already jumped in, and early impressions are weirdly split in a very interesting way. And that's before we even get into Gran Turismo 7, which is doing a double track of new content, including paid content for the first time. So let's get into it. Let's talk Project Motor Racing, because Straight 4 has basically been revealing a load of new cars, and I've been playing the game early. Let's do the new cars first. So GT1, if you like the old school late 90s monsters, well, they've confirmed the Toyota GT1 and the Nissan R390 GT1 as well. Then there's Group C. They have confirmed the Jaguar XJR9 and the Nissan R89C. So that's two legends from that category as well. And rounding out the GTE Decades pack includes the Dodge Viper and the BMW M8. And in the top class of current endurance motorsport, we've got two new hypercars, the Alpine A424 and the Peugeot 9X8, both the 2024 versions. I've already driven the Peugeot 9X8, so I've been driving the game. Firstly, I would say I'm very surprised that the car list for GT3 and Le Mans Hypercar, or LMDH, or just hypercars, is basically competitive with Le Mans Ultimate. They have an IMSA license, they've got all of the hypercars I can tell apart from the Ferrari 499P, which is absolutely insane, and they've got all of the GT3s, it feels like, apart from the Ferrari 296 GT3. So very competitive lineup in the most modern endurance aspect there. There are no open wheel cars in the game, so it's a bit different to Assetto Corsa Evo in that respect. But I've been enjoying the game, but here are some limitations I need you to know about. There is no VR in the game at launch, officially supported, whether on PC or on PlayStation 5. By the way, I don't think any other racing game is going to bring a competitive PSVR 2 sim racing experience on PlayStation 5 compared to Gran Turismo 7. But Project Motor Racing hasn't brought it on PC either yet. And also on PlayStation 5, the single player is limited to 16 car races. I think that's important because if you want to do multi-class, for example, having the hypercars and the GT3s, a 16 car race is going to be quite limiting. On PC, I've been able to do like 32, 33, maybe 34 car races. And there you can have a proper multi-class experience. Doing a mixture of hypercars and GT3s with 34 cars at Monza or Spa is a great experience. So fingers crossed they can bring that to PlayStation 5, but I'm worried there's a lot of promises about stuff coming, and I just wanted to let you know. So let me know what you think about Project Motor Racing. What do you want to see me cover? One more thing, make sure on PC, please lower the force feedback headroom setting. I think it's very dangerous on default. Now let's go into another new release, which is Assetto Corsa Rally. It dropped into early access last week. Time is going so quickly, and it landed in a surprisingly controversial way. So we know that it's super limited in terms of content right now. There's only 4 stages and 10 cars. Well, I think that's a decent amount of cars for early access, but there's an obvious question about how much longevity there is in its current state. I personally think the game is so enjoyable, the content can be used in really interesting ways, doing wet stages, dry stages, trying out the different cars. I don't mind going backwards on the stages. I think there's enough content in there for early access. Using my link in description in Instant Gaming, it's very cheap right now as well. So I'm very happy with the package of Assetto Corsa Rally, but there's been a lot of rumbling, a lot of criticism about how the force feedback works. Personally, I haven't had any issues with it on my Simucube 2 Pro and using my Alcantara Valo wheel, but I just want to let you know. And I really hope they can add some interesting stages relatively soon, maybe sooner than they expected, to keep up the momentum. The pattern I've seen in the comments, by the way, on my video is pretty clear. Most people are blown away by the physics, graphics, and road detail, and a lot of you saying it makes EAWRC and even Dirt Rally 2.0 feel flat by comparison. Once you get hooked into it, it's just difficult to go back to other sims. Definitely difficult to go back to something like Gran Turismo 7 or Forza for the driving feel that you're getting in Assetto Corsa Rally. Some caveats though, some wheels don't seem to be working as well, so the force feedback does seem to need some tweaking. But overall, the early vibe is just ridiculously promising. It's almost stupidly fun. It just needs more content, maybe a bit of better wheel support, And I think we're talking about a massive success in the future here. Let's stick with Assetto Corsa, but we'll go to Assetto Corsa Evo now. And Kunos has confirmed that the version 0.4 update is now landing in early December. It was meant to land in November, but it is going to come with more content. So yes, there's another delay, but there's more content, including the Ferrari 2025 F1 car, the SF25, is coming to Evo. That's insane. These cars have been limited in the past to the official Formula 1 game, but I'm going to come to that very soon. And it's coming to Assetto Corsa Evo with full hybrid DRS, all of that stuff, over 1,000 horsepower from the Turbo V6. Joining it is Monza, which was originally planned for later in December, but now that's been dragged forward into this update. And that's going to bring Assetto Corsa Evo's total to 10 cars and 5 tracks in version 0.4 alone. But there's more, because the update is also going to include physics tweaks, tyre model revisions, and a bunch of UI and quality of life improvements. And alongside the Ferrari, you've got Road Atlanta, Alton Park, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, the big one, plus cars like the BMW M3, E46 CSL, the Peugeot 205 216, and the Ferrari F40 LM. Next, we're going to talk about how a long-awaited game has been cancelled. But before that, I want to say a big thank you to Moser for sponsoring the sim racing show with the Moser R25 Ultra. We've taken a look at this wheelbase. It seems to be incredibly competitive for the price. So just to run through the specs, we're talking 25 Newton meters of sustained torque. It's got telemetry LEDs on the side. It's got the standard Moser quick release. It comes in this new form factor that looks a bit more modern than the R21 and R16 it's replacing. And it's a very, very, very competitively priced wheelbase at $899. So a big thank you for Moser for sponsoring the Sim Racing Show. There'll be a link in the description if you want to go check out the R25 Ultra. Now, for the first time ever that I can remember, there's not going to be a next Formula 1 game. Yes, there's going to be no F1 26. EA have confirmed that the series is skipping a year completely, with the next full release now pushed to 2027. Can you hear that? It's all of the F1 content creators shouting out in anger, but I do think the series has needed this for a long time. I do think it's needed a longer development cycle to reinvent and understand where it wants to go. For me, the F1 games have been caught in this bind between trying to satisfy the esports crowd that gives them some prominence, but also satisfy the casual crowd. I think they should probably just satisfy the casual crowd more. That's my opinion. If you want to drive the Ferrari SF25 and the proper sim, do it now instead of course the Evo. But that doesn't mean 2026 is going to be missing from EA's slate. They say that 2026 will show up as DLC for F125. So if you already own F125, you'll be able to buy an expansion that brings in the new teams and driver lineups. That's pretty much it. The calendar stays the same, so there'll be no Madrid track, and there's no big 2026 overhaul. That's pretty crazy, because 2026 in real life is the biggest change to Formula 1 regulations we've had in ages. So I feel like EA should have done a much better job of getting this done. They should have skipped this year's edition and made sure they came out with 2026 with something brand new. It's also going to be pretty difficult for people next year. You're going to have to buy F125 if you don't have it, and then buy an expansion to 2026. I feel like they should have just done 2026 as a free update as a thank you to the fans. Now, Codemasters Lee Mather is framing it as the perfect moment to look ahead, but I just can't stop thinking about Football Manager 26 that's had an absolute disastrous launch, and they skipped a year as well. So that's what's going on with F1 26. Now, Gran Turismo 7 is also getting a big content drop in Spec 3, and we've got a couple of new cars confirmed. So the headline is the Renault Espace F1, that completely unhinged F1 engined people carrier from GT2, I think it was maybe originally in, and alongside there's a Polestar 5, which is an all-electric super saloon, and there's going to be the Ferrari 296 GT3 and a load of other kind of older Japanese cars coming as well. But Spec 3 is not just about cars, remember. Yas Marina is coming, and Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and that Ferrari 296 GT3. There's a couple of mystery editions that I haven't been able to find yet as well. The whole Spec 3 update is due in December, and like previous big patches, it will be completely free. But that's not it for Gran Turismo 7. I was speaking with PlayStation at an event earlier this week, which is pretty cool, and hopefully we're going to be able to get you some pretty interesting access here. But Gran Turismo 7 is getting its first proper paid DLC called the Power Pack, And this is where things start to get a bit spicy. This isn't just another free update, obviously. It's something completely different. Firstly, PS5 only. So it's dropping PS4. It's coming on 4th of December. 50 new single-player events, a full real-time 24-hour race setting, Sophie 3.0 AI driving opponents, and 5 million credits as well bundled in. So it looks to be the hardcore campaign that a lot of us said GT7 was missing at launch. They went with the cafe, I didn't like it, but now they're adding it in. It is behind a paywall. The community, as you might understand, is very split on that. So the pricing is going to be quite important. I don't know the pricing yet, but if it comes in at, under 20 quid, I think that's going to be great. If it comes in above 20 quid, that's going to be a little bit more difficult to stomach. There's a lot of people saying that, GT7 has given us 3 years of free stuff. They've earned the right to charge us for something big. Other people are rightly saying some of these features were kind of teased earlier on, and now they're coming into a paid update. So let me know what you think of that with GT7. Obviously, Project Motor Racing is hitting retail in a couple of days as well. It's a huge time for sim racing. Strap in, make sure you subscribe, and please vote for me as Creator of the Year in the Autosport Awards. I'll put the link in the description. It's an unbelievable opportunity. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you next time.